Hello, everyone, and it's lovely to be back with you here for our online course. So, a couple of updates. First, I recently, well, just now, uploaded the discussion guidelines and expectations document. Please read that at your convenience. What this means is that it offers you, well, guidelines for discussions and the like. This is, loosely speaking, a set of policies that you should find helpful for going about the online activities that I'm asking you to complete. You'll receive more thorough instructions for peer reviews, which are more in depth, but for things like responses to inquiry questions, for instance, this is what you should follow. So I've uploaded that there. Looking at our schedule for this week and last week and where we are so far, as we begin week 2 of the semester, loosely speaking, we are operating schedule-wise on like a 1 week is equal to probably 2 to 3 class meetings. That's obviously equivalent to what you would be doing if we were meeting in person, and that's approximately how I've tried to space out the workload as well. So if you think about, for instance, last week, what was your work? It was reading the syllabus, the course policies, introducing yourself, and then getting acquainted with the basic resources available to you through the library, and getting an idea of what you're going to be asked to accomplish this semester. That's loosely speaking what we would spend the first 1 to 2 class meetings doing. And then this week, the inquiry question and pre-response to inquiry question and revised inquiry question, that also amounts to about 2 to 3 class meetings. So a few notes on that. You'll notice a pattern to the work we do where we're engaging in what you can call pre-writing activities. So if you think back to when you were in 1111 or high school English or anything like that, we did brainstorming activities, things like word association, or preliminary research where you just took notes while reading, or maybe you made an outline before writing an essay. Those are all examples of pre-writing activities, activities that are designed to help you gather the information you're going to need, expose you to the tools you're going to need to use, organize your thoughts, plan the essay that's to come. So in a lot of ways, and I mentioned this in my first video, the entire first unit is laying the groundwork for the rest of the semester. But here we're kind of like digging out the foundation still, like we're excavating before we can even put a foundation in. So this idea of an inquiry question here, it's really to come up with a topic in your field that you sense is going to be worth investigating. And I know from reading your introductory posts last week that y'all have plenty of interests, whether they're stuff that you got from co-op, a lot of you had some really interesting study abroad experiences as well, or even a topic that maybe you've just studied in coursework in your field. And anything that you're getting from any of those options is a fair game to investigate. So with the inquiry questions and the peer responses, here's what we're looking for. What we're really looking to do here is get a research question that will be pursuable throughout the course of the semester. Obviously, you can tweak it and change it a little bit if need be, but we really do need to identify, like, what are you interested in? And say that it's like online branding and how that can translate into marketing with micro-targeting on social media, specifically for music artists who are attempting to appeal to the 18 to 34 urban demographic. I don't know. I obviously just made that up. But those are some key concepts that you could tease out of that type of a topic. Things like micro-targeting, social media, and advertising for music artists. You can look at case studies of successful promotions. You can look at the design of some of the advertising materials. These are all different ways to look into a kind of phenomenon that you may have encountered or might be interested in investigating further. And so with the inquiry question, you want it to be, and again, this is from the schedule, you want it to be broad enough that it allows for more specific pursuit, but you want it to be focused enough that it gives you some clues about where to go online for your research materials. And what you'll probably find too, now that you've investigated the AWD subject guide and the 3314 subject guide specifically, what you'll probably find is that it's helpful to think of these inquiry questions in terms of discipline. And even if you need to go outside of your immediate major or area of focus, you never know what you're going to find. So it's really helpful to kind of ask yourself on a fundamental level, if I were to study this topic in a course at this university other than where I've already encountered it, what department would it be through? And then go to that AWD subject guide or a subject guide even for that class, or for that major rather, and look into it. I really encourage you to think outside the box. This is really about finding what you can do and seeing what your options are. So that's kind of how we view the inquiry question. Again, it's about opening doors here. We're trying to open doors, map out paths. I could extend terrible metaphors all day. With the peer response to the inquiry question, what we're looking to do is engage in a constructive dialogue to expand the range of possible topics. So what I mean by that, in say like the example I just used, maybe you have a background on marketing and your peer doesn't. Explain some ideas that you might be familiar with. Or if maybe you have an inquiry question that deals with, I don't know, CAD or something like that, some kind of design technology, you might be willing to look at that from an engineering perspective. But again, you really want to help your partners to open lines of inquiry and also to give them some guidance on where to go with it. Refer back to the specific questions in the schedule and you'll be fine. So that's for tonight, technically. If you get it in a little bit late, I understand, given that I just put the guidelines up. For Thursday the 18th, the revised inquiry question, what we want to do here, again, just reply to your original post. Hopefully your peers will reply to yours, and then your revised inquiry question will be in response to the original one as well. And just, again, go through the bullet point list in the schedule. What's your topic? Why are you interested in it? What are the specific questions? Just right. The more you can say about each of these points, the better, because again, we're going to use this as the foundation for what we do later on. So you really want to write everything that you're thinking of right now while it's fresh in your mind and while you've been reading up on it. You can come back to this later and use it as kind of like a toolkit for how to continue your projects further down the road. So I can't emphasize enough, be sure to write as much as you can. To the extent that you do want it to be polished, coherent academic English, we really want to generate ideas right here. The more ideas you can generate and the more clearly you can ground them in academic resources through the library, databases, publications, search results, etc., the better off you're going to be right now. The next big thing that we're going to get to is going to be next Monday, and that's the preliminary bibliography. And the idea is that we're working up to a collection of sources that can inform a research project. And so for the preliminary bibliography, it's to kind of get you thinking about how do professionals in this field, how do scholars, how does the general public even, how do we talk about the topics related to this inquiry question? So again, it's all in the schedule. Just go through and do those instructions, follow those instructions. That's for January 22nd, next Monday. And then ultimately what we're going to get to here is a peer-reviewed bibliography and then an annotated bibliography, which are more strictly academic. And again, it's about gathering sources, taking advantage of the resources at your disposal, building up an inventory that you can use, narrowing it down, pairing carefully selected sources with your inquiry question. So it's evidence to support an argument. It's paint to create an image. Again, metaphors. I like metaphors, as you can tell. So that's where we are right now. This first unit is especially collaborative. It's probably the most collaborative of the semester. So please, please, please offer some open-ended peer response. Questions are usually even more beneficial than statements. So if you want to ask any questions to your classmates that they would be forced to respond to, I would encourage you to do that. Questions inspire response, right? So say, hey, this is an interesting point that you raised. Have you considered how, blah, blah, blah? Or I'm wondering if you might also, blah, blah, blah. In fact, I saw a lot of really helpful questions in the introductions even. So I know y'all are good at it, and I encourage you to do that again with the peer response to the inquiry question. Idea generation, any questions, feel free to email me. Post in the discussion board would be ideal so I can respond to those. I'm going to sit down right now and go through everything and catch up with the Blackboard, but I wanted to get this up. So have a good week. Any questions, again, please, please, please post. Please ask. I look forward to reading your work.